When putting a puzzle together, everyone has a different strategy. Some people will put the edges together first. Others may simply pile colored pieces. Some still may just go at it without any rhyme or reason. Each of these strategies of putting a puzzle together have their pros and cons. Breaking down a resource or a document for research is very similar. Everyone will have their own style. It is important to find out which ones or parts of ones work best for you. It may change depending on the document or the topic at hand. Another similarity to putting a puzzle together is that at the beginning, it can feel overwhelming and messy. That's where our brain comes in. This video module is to help introduce you to one method that we use in literacy that can also be used for research purposes. I call it the 5 W's method. Just like in literacy, when we find the main idea using the 5 W's, in research, we use them to help us understand the whole document by focusing out attention to the main idea of it. The first step in this process is to read the document twice. Yeah, I know, I said twice. The first time is just to introduce us to it. The second time is so that we can begin to highlight unfamiliar words or phrases to us. Once we've finished reading twice and found out what words or phrases mean that were highlighted that we didn't already know, we now can begin to break down the document. The first 2 W's we're going to take a look at together are actually the who and the where. They connect together very well. When it comes to the who and the where, we have a number of questions we want to take a look at. Number 1, who or whom wrote or created this document or resource? Does this person or group know what they're talking about? Another way to say this is, are they credible or can we trust them? Who is this document or resource intended for? Is this a primary document like a letter for someone? The audience would be the person that it was addressed to. Is it a secondary resource, like an article that is piecing together multiple accounts? Is the audience in this case an age group? People from a certain region or community? Or was it simply meant to educate or teach us? It could take on many different faces. The third question we're going to ask ourselves is, where did we find the document? We want to be able to give credit if we use the information from it. Otherwise, we are stealing from them. And this is actually a crime called plagiarism. It can get you in a lot of trouble, especially the farther you go in education. You will want to ask yourself, where was this created? As well. Answering both of these W's, the who and the where, will also help us see bias later on. And I'll talk about that when we get to the why. It is important to know who because it gives us the context for a reason for its creation. This will help us understand the document as a whole as we move through the other W's. The third one we are going to look at is the when. When was the document or resource created? Is it still relevant? Is it outdated? Imagine you were a doctor. Would you use a medical textbook from the year 1865 to find out how to do a medical procedure? I hope your answer is no. But if you were wanting to find out how medical procedures have changed from then to now, this may be an excellent resource for you to use. The fourth one is the what. This is a big one. What is the document trying to tell us or teach us? What are the important pieces of information that we need to know? What are the interesting pieces of information that add context or extra meaning? Think of interesting pieces like an extra topping you get on a pizza. Is it needed? No, but it does make for a better pizza. What do we not need to know? Well, we will never actually need to use 100% of a document. What can we disregard? What can we recycle? It may be prior knowledge. It may be something that is not connected to what we are trying to research. For example, if we were reading a letter about a military general writing his family about a great victory in battle, we don't really care about him asking how his family's farm is doing. We need to keep our eyes on the prize. The fifth one and the final one is why. This is probably one of the harder ones too. We need to figure the reasons and the problems with this resource. There is no such thing as a perfect resource. There are issues with them all. This is where we talk about why the document was created. We also get a chance to talk about bias. We will be spending more time on bias later in classes, but I will spend a little bit more time talking about it now. Ever heard the saying, two sides of the story, or the truth is somewhere in the middle? That is essentially a way of saying or dealing with the bias. If you haven't already found out in life, everyone has an opinion. Everybody. Some are informed and know what they're talking about, and others not so much. You don't want to be fooled by someone's opinion, even if it's informed. You want to base yours off of as much of the facts as you possibly can, something that can't be refuted. Sometimes, to make something more entertaining, people stretch or twist the facts to exaggerate them. Sometimes they don't want to draw attention to something and purposefully underestimate them. Now that we've gone over the 5 W's, you may be asking yourself, where do I start? Well, if it were me, I would read the document a third time after watching the video. This will just let you kind of think about the 5 W's as you're reading. Then go back and watch this video again, except this time I want you to pause after each W and break the document down one by one for that W, all the way until you're done. Once you have finished all 5 W's, give yourself a pat on the back. You have broken down a resource using the 5W method. The more you practice this skill, the quicker and better at it you will become. Research is an important life skill. It takes practice, and you're not going to get it all on the first try, and that's okay.